Hello BrewTubers, and welcome to the brew day you've all been waiting for. It is my 200 IBU Imperial Brown Stout. This is a 170-year-old recipe from the Homebrewer's Guide to Vintage Beer by Ron Pattinson. Yes, it's the 1848 Barclay Perkins Imperial Brown Stout. The original Russian Imperial Stout, first brewed for Catherine the Great, revived by Wells and Young in 2012. Full of alcohol and hops, not to survive the journey, but because the Russian court liked it that way. As I said, I've had to adjust the recipe down from 23 litres to 16 because the grain bill had been too big for my Bulldog brewer. Even at 16 litres it's fairly hefty, so yes, I've had to bring that down a bit. Should make about a 9% beer, 9 to 10% beer, and 200 IBUs. Anyway, I've done the recipe on Brewer's Friend. So right, it says I'm going to get a 9.94% beer with a 40 CRM colour. IBUs 195. So nearly 200. But let's just say it's 200. Right, so the recipe, as I'm going to brew it, for 16 litres, 4.8 kilos of Maris Otter, 1.9 kilos of brown malt, 840 grams of amber malt, and 240 grams of black malt. Hops, 100 grams of East Kent Goldings at 90 minutes, 90 grams of East Kent Goldings at 60 minutes, and 90 grams of East Kent Goldings at 30 minutes. Now, just to make sure I get 16 litres, I may do a slightly longer boil than expected, just to make sure I get down to that level, which isn't a problem. So, and using Whitbread ale yeast to ferment with. So yes, I'm going to go start mashing in now. How exciting. So that is the 4.8 kilograms of Maris Otter Pale added onto the brown malt. 1.9 kilograms of brown malt added. 840 grams of amber malt added. And lastly, 240 grams of black malt. So we'll mash that for about an hour and a half. So the mash is well underway, mashing at 71 degrees Celsius as per the instructions in the recipe, and it will raise up to 76 for mash out. Right, so we've reached the end of the mash. It's been mashing for a fair while now, so I'm just going to start the sparging. Right, got the sparge going. Rinse those sugars from those grains. How exciting. So we've reached the start of the boil. Going to boil it down for an hour or two just to get the right quantity of wort before I add any of the hops. So we've been boiling for a couple of hours now. After sparging I had about 30 litres of liquid, so obviously for a 16 litre brew I had to get that down a bit. So yeah, it's been boiling for a couple of hours. We're down to about 22 litres now, so I think that's about right to start with the hop additions. So I've got a 90-minute boil from now. First hop addition is 100 grams. Also got to factor in the absorption as well from the hop pellets, so we should end up with about 16 litres, I think. So yes, first hop addition at 90 minutes is 100 grams of East Kent Goldings, 5.1 alpha acids. Second hop addition, 60 minutes to go, that will be 90 grams of East Kent Goldings, and the last half hour another 90 grams of East Kent Goldings, then a proto flock last 15 minutes. Got the yeast ready using Whitbread ale yeast from Y yeast. That's been activated last night, so that's all ready to go. Fermenter's nice and clean, so we'll do the first hop addition. First hop addition at 90 minutes, 100 grams of East Kent Goldings. Oh, that's rather hot. I just trust that they've given me 100 grams in this packet. Right, half an hour to go, and then I'll be adding another 90 grams. Right, 1 hour left, 90 grams of East Kent Goldings going in. Next hop addition in 30 minutes, another 90 grams. Last half hour, a further 90 grams of East Kent Goldings going in. I'll add a proto flock tablet in 15 minutes. Last 15 minutes of the boil, in goes a proto flock tablet. Huzzah, hurrah, hooray. So that is the end of brew day. Yeah, after the proto flock addition, chilled it down, chucked it in the fermenter, used pure oxygen to oxygenate it. Gave that a go, and I've got one of those aeration stone things, so yeah, used that. I had to use some cold water because I didn't have 16 litres, and I didn't get good efficiency either, so yeah, I had to add about 3-4 litres of water. I think the hops probably absorbed more than I expected, and perhaps I boiled it a bit too long. Probably a combination of things, to be honest. So yeah, I had to add a bit of water to get up to 16 litres, and then my original gravity dropped to about 1060, so I had to add, well, nearly a kilo of sugar to get the original gravity up to what I wanted it to be for a 10% beer. So hasn't gone as well as I'd hoped in terms of efficiency. I think because it's just such a high grain bill, I think that suffers. Big Banana was saying that that's what he reckons it suffers from. More grain you use, the less efficient you become. Oh well. So yes, well, for what it's worth, I'll show you what the tilt hydrometer says. There we go. We can't see what it says. There you go. Imperial Stout Black, 1.113, 31.7 degrees Celsius. The immersion chiller didn't reach the bottom of the wort, so it didn't do much good, to be honest. So I've just transferred it to the grain file and got the guy called chiller cooling it down. Haven't pitched the yeast yet. Here is the yeast. You can see that it is 1099 Whitbread ale yeast, so that's nice and firm. Smacked it yesterday, so yeah, I wait for that's a more reasonable temperature than add the yeast. Yeah, then just tidying up. I've tidied all the equipment up. A lot of burnt stuff in the bottom of the Bulldog brewer, so I've just added some chemicals in the bottom of that just to loosen the burnt material up. And yes, that's quite a brew day. So yeah, the highest gravity I've achieved, although I cheated by using sugar. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be one of those very interesting tasting beers. So yeah, I've got the profile up to 24 days from 14. Just because it's such a high gravity, I think it could probably do with a few days extra fermenting. So I've added a couple of days, 10 days onto the fermentation schedule, and I've also ramped the temperature up to 20 degrees Celsius for fermenting rather than 18. And I've had enough, so I think I'm going to finish it there. Yeah, so that's the 1848 Barclay Perkins Imperial Brown Stout. Quite a brew day. We shall see how it goes though. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all again soon. Au revoir.